Welcome to High Ground. My name is Tanner, and in this video we have some more information to talk about regarding the Gamers8 tournament. We have all of the players confirmed, we have the talent confirmed, the prize pool, and the bracket and whatnot. So let's talk about it. First thing up, we have TSM will be trialing Snake, replacing Chala, and there's still some other stuff, maybe some rumblings about other things TSM might do, but for now they are bringing in Snake. And so somebody pointed out to me in the comments of, I think it was the previous video, about the verbiage they used here. So trialing, SSG also said the same thing for Dexter, and that is because they cannot officially pick anyone up. I think the window's not open right until after the major. So maybe these are fully intended to be their new pickups, but regardless, they are saying trialing because they are not officially picking them up. And, maybe either of them, Snake or Dexter, will do very poorly and they will want to go with somebody else, but we'll have to see what actually happens. And I suppose in both cases, the roles are seeming kind of weird. Chala going out, Sky's going out. Chala definitely a support player. Sky's maybe more of a flexi type player, but still was playing a decent amount of sort of support-oriented stuff, flank watch and whatnot. And then Snake coming in to replace Chala, Snake being an entry player, Dexter being an entry player. So they will have to re-coordinate their roles in either case. Maybe it'll work out quite well in this very aggressive meta. I would be very surprised to see Snake or Dexter on anything that is not an entry role, whether that be first or second entry. But again, we'll have to see, and we don't have to wait very long to see. The event starts up in just 2 days. It runs from Thursday through Sunday. So coming up very, very soon. So let's go on to the next thing. We have the talent lineup for the event. So a good mix of people from across the world. We have, say, Blue from NA. We have Xenox from APAC. We have XR Troika from EU. We have Twister from LATAM, and then all these people from wherever they're from. Some of these people I'm not completely sure who they are, if I'm being completely honest. Some of these people are new to me. I'm sure everybody knows like Blue and Milosh and Fresh at this point, but maybe not some of the other names. But I suppose if you watch the event, you should get to know all of these people fairly well. We have 6 casters, a host, a desk host, and then 3 analysts. So if you watch any amount of the event, I imagine you'll get a decent spread of seeing how everyone operates. Maybe they'll be switching up pairs. Maybe they have set pairs for the casters. We'll have to see. But, a pretty good-looking lineup, all things considered, I suppose. And we'll go on to the next thing. Back to the Liquipedia page. So the prize pool I discussed before, and I think I commented on the previous video, but I haven't had a chance to actually talk about it. So this looks a lot different than I expected. The numbers here for the prize pool, this only adds up to $1.2 million when there's, in fact, a $2 million prize spread, and that is because each team will be getting $100,000 baseline. And so I don't know if that actually goes to the players or if that goes to the org. The way they've worded it, so there's here, of course, and then the way they worded it in the tweet when they announced it, it kind of sounds like it's going to the org to me, but I can't say for certain. Maybe some of the orgs will give it to their players, maybe some won't. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for certain. This number for first place is much smaller than I expected. I suppose it's more really $500,000 because of the additional 100, but I expected it to be higher. If the $800,000 had just been distributed here, then yeah, I would imagine this would be at least 600,000, if not 700-800, whatever. But okay, so I suppose in a sense you're still getting $500,000 for first place, and then baseline you are getting at least 140,000, 100,000 plus this 40,000 for placing 7th, 8th. So that's that. Let's go on to talk about the teams we already talked about. Don't really need to discuss it. I'll mention one more time. Snake coming in for TSM, Dexter coming in for SSG, the Rent-Free and Viper's logos still even on here. Those are the CL teams that they most recently played on. So the thing I really want to talk about here, though, is the bracket. So we already knew the groups, and so they finally announced the matchups, because these are not round robin brackets, or groups rather. They are double elimination brackets. And so if you've just been watching Siege recently, you might think this is a little bit weird. Usually it is round robin groups, but back in the day, this is sort of what they did. The groups were actually just thinly veiled double elimination brackets that seeded into the full playoffs bracket. So okay, yeah, Liquid versus Wild and Damwon versus Space Station in Group A, and then in Group B we have TSM versus Mibr, BDS versus Falcons. So let's talk about a few of these matchups, or I guess we could just talk about all of them. There's only actually 4 matchups. And okay, so first one up, Liquid versus Wild. This seems like one of the more lopsided matchups, with Wild and especially Falcons seeming like the weak links at this tournament, and maybe even TSM and SSG because of the fact that they're bringing in new players. But yeah, Liquid, and I suppose I'll also talk about MIB at the same time. Both of them kind of got off to bad starts in this stage of in the stage of LATAM of Brazil, and they both kind of bounced back, but not enough so to make it to Copa Elite Six, and thus not enough to make it to the major. So Liquid is very, very close. They just need another round or two against FaZe, and they would have taken FaZe's spot, but they didn't make it there in the end. And Mibr, they just have a tendency to miss out on like all the majors, even though they tend to make it to the SIs, do well at the SIs. But okay, so both in a similar boat here, but of course Liquid the much more prestigious team, I suppose you'd say. And I don't know that Liquid is especially well built for the current meta. They're sort of this passive team playing in this very aggressive meta. Maybe they need a player shift. Maybe they just need a perspective shift, whatever it is. And maybe they don't need anything. Maybe they will be fully capable of taking down this tournament as is. I'd say they're probably the favorite, but it is tough to call. I think in a lot of people's eyes, it's going to be Liquid and or Damwon as the two favorites. But they're in the same group. But of course, two teams do make it out of the same group. And okay, so I do expect Liquid to take this. Damwon versus SSG, there is some history here. They were in the same group at the Sweden major, I believe, and they played double round robin. Damwon won both of them. I think it was an 8-7 and a 7-4, so a close game and a less close game. But unless I'm missing something and they played elsewhere, it is just a straight up 2-0 winning record for Damwon over Space Station. And now Damwon coming in, and they've been shaky at certain times. They definitely impressed at what I believe was their first event, if I'm remembering this right, at Mexico, where they made it to they made it out of their group, but then they fell to Liquid. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, so I think Damwon definitely has leg up over Space Station for a number of reasons, not least of which being their history. So then that would lead to a Liquid versus Damwon matchup here. That is the matchup for a lot of people's fantasy brackets for SI. A lot of people thought that would be the grand final matchup, sort of myself included, if we were just talking about best guesses and whatnot. Of course, it ended up being TSM versus Empire. But okay, yeah, Liquid played against Damwon in the quarterfinals. I think it was quarterfinals, yeah, of the Mexico major. Liquid took it down 2-0, close first map, destruction in the second map. That was when Liquid still had Sexy Cake and Moringa. That was Damwon's first international event, so Damwon has grown quite a lot as a team in terms of just their play in general, but certainly their experience. I suppose Liquid has also grown with their new roster. It was, I think, after that event that they made the roster changes, and so now they've had time with the current roster. They've looked good, they looked bad at any given time, but we'll see how they do here. I don't know who I'd predict there. I won't be predicting it until it actually is the matchup happening. But yeah, so a little bit of history there in that they were thought to have met at SI, didn't happen, but they did meet before that anyways. And if it is Liquid versus Space Station, actually here, I'll talk about that. They played each other in the groups of the most recent SI, and Space Station ended up second in that group, Liquid in first. Liquid took down Space Station 2-0. It was a Yeah, they beat them 2 maps. Okay, so we'll wrap up there. Let's go over here. TSM versus Mibr. I want to say Damwon versus Space Station looks like the most exciting first matchup, but maybe this is the second most, and maybe more so if TSM hadn't just made the roster change. But maybe the roster change is what they needed, because they were they won SI, but then they went on to get 9th place and 8th place in NAL, which is pretty brutal. Mibr, not the most spectacular showings in region, but again, when they do go play internationally, they do tend to do pretty well. And both these teams absolute monsters when they go to SI. Mibr, I think, top 4 at the 2 most recent SIs, and in TSM, top 4 at the 3 most recent SIs, and winning the most recent one. So it should be a banger matchup. I think especially because of the fresh pickup for TSM, Mibr should have the advantage, but we'll have to actually see. And BDS versus Falcons should be an easy BDS win, unless Falcons comes out of the gate hot or something, or BDS just absolutely implodes because they are missing out on a major for the first time. Maybe that's going to have them really shaken, but a lot of money to play for, so maybe they'll get their act straight there. In terms of momentum, the ones I really want to note are BDS, Mibr, and Liquid. With Liquid and Mibr sort of having pretty good back halves, most recent halves to their stage, and BDS sort of having a bad second half of the stage. So Mibr and Liquid feel like they have a much more momentum than BDS does, with especially because they just missed out on the major by not that big of a margin, but they did lose quite a lot of their games in the second half of the most recent stage of EUL. So there's that to consider. And then this could be Mibr BDS, this could be TSM BDS. I'm not 100% sure if and when these teams have met in the past, but okay, I don't really want to speculate because I did not look it up. I looked up quite a lot for this side of the bracket, but actually not this. So do let me know if they've met in the past. It feels like they should, with BDS, Mibr, TSM going relatively deep at SIs, BDS not at the most recent SI, but maybe the one or two before that. Okay, yeah. So I think that does it. I think that's pretty much everything I want to talk about. I don't want to go too much deeper. I don't want to predict matchups that aren't guaranteed to happen yet, but I will say one more thing. So, okay, let's assume Liquid Damon win. They'll play each other here. Winner of that will qualify. And so Space Station Wild will play. Winner of that will play the loser of the Liquid Damon, and then the winner of that will qualify. And then I'm assuming, unless there's something insane going on here, it should be this team versus this team. So the team that goes 2-0 in Group A versus the 2-1 team from Group B, and the 2-0 team from Group B versus the 2-1 team from Group A. And then so, they'll play each other here and here, and then they'll go to the final. So could be a Liquid versus Damon grand final indeed. And I guess it's set up for better by the fact that they're in the same group, but maybe TSM, Mibr, BDS, maybe any of them will do better than I am thinking they're going to do. And yeah, so that's it. And maybe as the event goes on, I'll do a little bit more coverage. Feel free to comment below if you would enjoy seeing that. And I guess also if there's anything else you want to see. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. So questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them below. And like and subscription would be appreciated. And with all that being said, catch you guys in the next video.